morning, day 317. We're wrapping up the book of Timothy, chapter 4, the second book of Timothy, second letter. I'm going to talk about being prepared. There was one little phrase that caught me and made me sit and ponder, like, what does Paul mean here? He tells Timothy to be prepared, whether the timing is good or bad. I think that's what it was. And I thought, well, what does that mean? If you're prepared, is there a bad time or a good time? Like, isn't that the point of being prepared? And then, ironically, as I was really thinking about it, and even coming here today, I was like, oh, I forgot my toboggan. It's like 20-some degrees. But I'm prepared. I've been doing this every day now for nearly a year. And I did have my gloves, but I'm still ready. I'm ready, even though the conditions aren't ideal. I think whether it's timing or conditions, if you're prepared, you're ready. So, and then I was even thinking, Paul uses a lot of analogies with athleticism and racing and games. As a matter of fact, he makes another one in this chapter. That he's run his race, he's poured his life out, and he's done a good job. But preparation, and when I think of my daughter's a runner, and you do everything to prepare for the day of the race. And then, of course, the race is planned. The timing, you have starting, everybody sort of has a fair shot. You get ready, you do all these things to prepare for the start. But on any given day, you have weather, you have some unknowns that can throw you for a loop. So part of the training plan for a lot of athletes is these different conditions that you are ready for. So there's the ideal rate. Of course, it's ideal if the weather's great, your shoes fit, your socks you got your whole outfit. But what if something happens that maybe is out of your control, whether it's one of them or other people? There are things that are outside of our control. But when we're prepared, even when it's not ideal conditions, we're ready. We got it. We can do it. And the other thing, as I was really thinking about it, like as humans, you can't be prepared for everything all the time. So we pick these things called priorities. And if we're not careful, and if we're not living intentionally or consciously, those priorities will sort of pick us or other people's priorities. And then that's a moving target. And it's hard to be prepared for that kind of thing. And I was like, boy, I think that's how I used to live. Like, how do you even know what to be prepared for? And so you kind of scatter yourself and you're trying to do a lot of things in preparation. And you're even preparing yourself for the unknown. That's exhausting. Let me tell you, that's exhausting. I let other people's priority, living by the wind and the waves. And there's a lot of those comparisons in the Bible too. Being tossed about in the waves, even getting out of the boat and walking on the water, Jesus sleeping through a storm. When you are not living consciously and intentionally, you haven't sat down, taken an inventory, decided what's important to you, what your values are, what your priorities are. And I was thinking even about, this might be another topic for another day, but are some of us really thinking that we're living by values when we're really living by fear? And boy, can I resonate with that one too. When you're a people-pleasing type, servant-hearted, like you just want to, make other people happy, meet their needs, sometimes you tend to ignore your own, and you don't. This is how you can get behind the 8-ball of life. I don't even know what that phrase means. I had to look that up. I'm trying to look up phrases now as a writer. Like, where did that come from? There's always interesting stories behind some of these phrases. Literally, this is a squirrel moment. But I was watching a movie last night, and there's a phrase of getting on somebody's dance card. They actually used to have dance cards, and you would have to go around and get on somebody's dance card, on somebody's schedule, way back in the olden days, in high society. But I was like, wow, in modern times, we just use phrases and we don't know where they came from. That they always have a story. There's a reason why we use these phrases. And that's, if you ever want to just have a fun moment and go down a rabbit trail, look up some of these common phrases that you're like, what the heck does that mean? Where did that come from? And anyway, total rabbit trail moment. But back to being prepared. So there's Maslow's, if you've never heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, this right here, this hierarchy of needs can be a real good clue and a useful tool to help you understand your own motivations. And even why, if you're living according to other people's agendas, priorities, you haven't sat down to identify your own, this is a useful tool, because many of us, me included, and what I'm about to say, I mean nothing derogatory towards my family or my parents. Love them, great parents, did the best they could. But I was living kind of in survival mode as a kid. And when you aren't having all of your needs met, you can stay stuck in the lower part of the hierarchy of needs. And they are physiological, or the first one, like you need, air to breathe, you need shelter, you have basic needs. And then there are emotional needs. Then there's survival, then there's emotional, and then there's self-esteem, and then self-actualization. I think I got that right. All these levels. And we can't get to the higher levels until we get through these lower levels. And many of us, if we haven't sat down and taken an inventory and really done some of the internal work and reflection, what are my limiting beliefs? What beliefs were handed down to me? Or even beliefs that I created myself as a kid in order to survive or to get love and belonging, some of these things that are at some basic human needs lower on the hierarchy. And if you're still stuck in those beliefs, you're never going to get way up here. And some of it, and it's not necessarily a linear, you can even break through into some of this while still being somewhat down here because we have kind of categories of life. So you might be doing much more self-actualized, let's say, in your, maybe your attitude towards money, but you have a lot of problems in your relationships. Well, you might want to take a look at the hierarchy of needs. You might have some beliefs in there that are keeping you, it's like an upper limit, like a ceiling. You just can't break through because you keep hitting your head on, and it's not even a real limit, but, it is real. Our beliefs create our life and our experience. But thoughts are choices. Beliefs are choices. And if you've never heard that before, your mind might be blown now. So take a careful inventory. But in this particular story, and in the Bible, Paul and Timothy have a shared value and priority of spreading the good news. This is the mission. So when you know what your priority, your value, your mission is, well, then you know what to prepare for and how to be prepared. Now, he might not be prepared to run a race because he's so focused on this as his main mission. If somebody told him to go out and run 10 miles, he might not be prepared for that. We can't be prepared for everything because we only have so many hours in a day. We only have so much capacity. And we can really only be focused. The word priority actually gets misused a lot. Like, we think we have 20 priorities. Nobody can have that many priorities. Priority is, really a pretty singular word. You just can't have, you can have like an ultimate priority, and then you can have other really important things. So knowing what your priorities, if a few are, will help you. But you have to sit down. And most of us run around, and I talk to a lot of people about this, like, I don't have time, I can't do that. I'm like, well, wonder why that is. Many of us love to actually keep ourselves distracted by being so busy and thinking that we don't have time because we want excuses why our life isn't going well. Sorry. I'm preaching to the choir here. Like, in order for things to change, things have to change. And you got to sit down with yourself. The only way to change is to sit down with yourself and be what I call brutifully honest. It is brutal, but it's beautiful at the same time. Because when you have the truth, when you have the facts, and you're willing to be honest about all your, then we've got something to work with. Then we've got some data. And this isn't about casting aspersions on yourself, making yourself feel bad. Actually, quite the opposite. Or even thinking bad about your family of origin, like I already alluded to. We did the best we could. I was in survival mode. Like, I thank myself for figuring some things out and how to get me to a pretty good place in life, even though it wasn't ideal. I can thank myself for, wow, you did really good considering what you were taught, what your life circumstances were as a young person. And you made some decisions, some bold decisions to go in a different direction. But you didn't have a lot of guidance, like what I was able to do on my own without any guidance. And now that I have guidance and great coaches, and I'm learning and I'm willing to do the work, hopefully I can create and help my kids, and generationally we can maybe turn that ship around, and maybe some of my descendants will be able to reach that pinnacle of self-actualization, because they're not down here living in unhealthy dysfunction, trying to just get some of their basic needs met, of belonging and all of that. And that's a lot of the message of the Bible too. When you belong to God and when you belong to yourself and you stop trying to belong to other humans and their thoughts, their opinions, like, that is self-actualization. That's a lot of the message of the Bible. Like, get up here by not being down here, trying to live according to what other people think, trying to get a title, trying to get the money, the status, like the ego or worldly things that our lower self wants to tell us this is what we need. This keeps us stuck down here. Life, abundant life, what God has intended for us is to live by your own compass, your own values, by love, knowing that you matter because you are created. There is a creator who created you, and you are loved, period, end of story. You don't have to do all of this game playing over here. Just do what you were created to do, what the desires are in your heart, and you, if it's true, like the loftier desires, not the hedonist, like only YOLO, living in the moment desires, but when we're living from this higher place, whoa, it's not only good for us, it's good for everybody else. This is kind of the message of the Bible overall. Love yourself as your neighbor. Love your neighbor as yourself. Sorry, I got that wrong. And love God. And know that you are loved. Like, that's self-actualization. Because then you're not worried about all of this out here. And that can be your priority, which can help you know how to be prepared. Anyway. This is a good little lesson from Paul. I don't know if that's what he intended. That's what I got out of it today. Because usually you get out of it what you need to. So a reminder to really get clear on your priorities and your values. And are your values really values, or are they fears? And how, that is something I'm going to evaluate. I think I have some fears still hanging out there. And trying to live, keeping me living down here versus here. All right. Have a great day. Rise and shine. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.